in. Welcome to the Unscripted Pause. Okay. I just watched a video. and so I'm going to talk a little bit about church. I, I I don't think this is going to be a long video. I'm not intending for this to be long. Okay, let me give you context. I randomly went on YouTube. And stuff just pops up on YouTube. And so I see this video of a guy who is referencing another video, right? He shows snippets of the video in his video about this woman who walked out, who she recorded a video saying she walked out of her church service, and that she intentionally shows up to her church late to bypass praise and worship. She intentionally shows up late to bypass praise and worship because she feels uncomfortable with it. Now, she says that she listens to worship music in her car when she's by herself. She likes to praise. She doesn't like it in church. She doesn't like. She says she was raised in a Catholic church. She says it makes her feel very uncomfortable. People are raising their hands and crying, and she says she feels really uncomfortable with it. And the guy is giving her what he says a gentle rebuke, right? A gentle rebuke. And he was good. Like I had never seen him before, but he was so good that I subscribed to him. Now this all just happened. And one of the things that he said in his comments and his rebuke to her was this idea that when he used to, as he was growing up and he would be in church and he would see people like outwardly praising, and he felt like he had to do what he saw others doing so that he wouldn't be perceived as not being as spiritual, as holy, that whole thing. And oh man, I don't something about that whole thing clearly triggered something within me. Um, Look, I was raised in a Pentecostal church. People raise their hands, people cry, people speak in tongues aloud, people shout, meaning they dance. We just call it shouting. They shout. You might see somebody run. I love a good runner in church. You might see somebody run. You see a little bit of everything. People praising God. Now, growing up, I, I've never, it just wasn't within me. Wasn't, never felt like that was in me to do that. Um, but I love seeing other people praise, right? I love seeing other people outwardly praise. Love it. Here for it. And as I said, you see somebody take off running. I love that. And but and so what the woman was saying in her video about walking out and she shows up late to church, and the thing was she recorded the video because she intentionally goes late. She walked out this time because even though she walked in 30 minutes late, they were still in praise and worship. And she didn't understand why they were still in praise and worship 30 minutes later. Whew, child. Look, I love praise and worship. I love praise and worship. And again, I just said, I love seeing other people praise. I am not necessarily an outwardly, like, look, this is what I saw. Okay, so I saw it in my church, people outwardly. This is what I saw from my parents. My mom might raise a hand. She might cry. You might, yes, Lord. I mean, you might get that. Okay, that's it. My dad, no, you ain't getting nothing. You ain't seeing nothing. I've never seen anything from my dad ever. Not a tear, not a hand raised, not a thing. Um, but here's what my dad used to say, and here's what I've learned as 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 I know God for myself, as I just mature, period, is that everybody praises differently. Just because you don't see somebody outwardly raising their hands doesn't mean that they're not praising internally. It doesn't mean that they're not. I'm not a runner, but sometimes inside, oh, I'm running. I'm running. So people are different. But what the guy was saying about feeling like you had to present in a certain way, and I did always feel that way. Like I always felt like people thought, I don't know that people felt this about me, but it's so funny how we perceive these things. I always felt like people thought like, she ain't that spiritual. She don't know. You know, yeah, it's not. It's just not me. And somebody said something to me years and years ago about something about God and using me, and I was like, I know. Isn't that the coolest that he would use me? That's my language. That's how I talk. Whereas other people trying to be so deep and spiritual with it, I'm just using plain talk. Just using plain talk. And I did used to have this sense like, oh, I should be, and here's what irks me beyond irking me. I don't want somebody up front saying, you need to be standing up, you need to give God, you need to raise your hand. No, no, I don't need to. If I felt it, I'll do it. I'll do what God lays on me to do. Have I shouted in my life? Yes, one time. I have. I felt really good about that. But really, God, because I ain't just doing that on my own. And it was a good shout, I might add. Um, but that's not a thing. That's not a normal thing for me. As I've gotten older, will I raise my hands? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I jump sometimes? I will jump. I will jump. I'm a jumper. I will jump. But that's about the extent of it. And if we don't learn to let people just be who they are, my gosh, if we don't learn to just let people be who they are. So like even like with praying, and I think sometimes this is why now, I don't know how this is going to go over. But sometimes this is why I like sometimes a white church. Hear me out. Hear me out. So what I have found, my experience, is that I do perceive that in black churches that people like, oh, if you're not doing so much, if you're not raised, if you're not, that they don't. They're like, oh, what's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you if you're just standing there, right? And the whole like, you should be up on your feet, and in like, don't get me started on the black church. And then like, I got to go to my neighbor, I got to say 50 things to my neighbor. I don't want to get up. I don't want to say nothing to my neighbor. And really funny. So I was in my early 20s, late 20s. And this is my late 20s, and I think I should know better. But I was so caught up in how people perceived me in my relationship with God that I can remember, and I never wanted to pray aloud. Mm-mm. You ain't judging me with how I pray. But this one time in an instance, I had to pray aloud in front of other people. And I was saying and doing things that were not me, but it's what I've heard, it's what I was used to. And I was just kind of mimicking. It's just mimicking. I thought this is what's expected. And then I tell you, when I got to Houston and got to my church that I attended that I loved, that was predominantly white. Pastor was white. It was white, Hispanic, and there were like a handful of blacks. But they come in like we are flawed. We are flawed people. And we are here to just worship and serve the God who has saved us. And the prayers would be simple. They'd be like, God, we just thank you. They'd be so like simple. It doesn't have to be like, Father, God, just like simple. Okay, I so I'm gonna get dragged for this. I don't care. Drag me. And I just I like simple. I like simple. I still want to see people praise, right? I want to see that. I need like a good balance between the two. A good balance between the two. Now, I don't understand that girl walking out. Like, I feel like she needs to, who am I to tell her what she needs to do, right? But I'll give you an example. When I started going to the church I was going to in Houston, again, predominantly white, they were singing contemporary Christian music, which I wasn't used to. And I didn't, and to be honest, I did not like. I got there, I really loved the pastor. He was good, he was a good teacher. And I can tell, you could just tell when they study, you just know. And he was good. But the music, but it felt like that was where I was supposed to be. And I just prayed. I was like, God, like I feel like this is where you want me to be. But you got to change my heart about this music. I don't You've got to change my heart. If this is where you want me to be, then change my heart about this music. And he did. I joined the praise team. I love that music now. I listen to a lot of it on my Pandora. So it's just sometimes you just have to like pray, like, Lord, change my heart about whatever it is. If you're struggling with praise and worship, or maybe maybe she ain't going to the right church. Maybe she needs a balance between Catholic and wherever she's going. And yeah. So be who you are. Be who you are. Show up as who you are, right? And if there are things that God needs to work on, He will work on them. He will convict you about things. This is about having a relationship. That's what it means. He will convict you about certain things. And if there are things that you like, and if you think my asking God like changed my heart about that, you think I came up with that on my own? No, that's God convicting me like this is where you need to be. So you need to be asking me like to change your heart about it. Yeah, change my heart. So yeah, I'm just leaving you with that little bit. Interested to hear what people think about this. So um and it's really interesting as I'm like searching for a church right now. So yeah, until next time, be well.